Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to witness some scenes from the next attraction to play this theater. This picture, truly one of the most unusual ever filmed, contains scenes which under no circumstances should be viewed by anyone with a heart condition or anyone who is easily upset. We urgently recommend that if you are such a person or the parent of a young or impressionable child now in attendance, that you and the child leave the auditorium for the next 90 seconds.
Greetings, my friends. Welcome to another episode of the Video Nasty Project, the show that takes you on a journey through the seamy underbelly of all the depravity and gore and horror that Mary Whitehouse and Margaret Thatcher don't want you to see. On today's episode, we take a look at a film by Antonio Margheriti, the same director that brought you this. Yes, today we take a look at the first cannibal movie on the nasty list, Cannibal Apocalypse. Let's check out the trailer.
My God, son, put it down. Cannibalism.
A Vietnam vet, barricaded in the flea market, taking pot shots at the cops outside.
Okay, that's enough.
Wait a minute. Please try to understand. Listen to me. While she was here, I had this urge to bite her. To bite her, you understand? Like Bukowski. We got it. There's no exit there.
All right, so we just saw a Cannibal Apocalypse. So, you want to tell us about it? Tell us
Okay,
about it.
so John Saxon's character is basically a captain. They go into Vietnam to rescue some of their teammates who have been captured and put in a pit. Their two teammates who were captured and tortured, probably and starved, have devolved into cannibalism. And kind of right off the bat, they start taking pot shots at people and biting them really badly.
Well, there's that fire gag where they, the guy sets the with the flamethrower sets the native woman on fire, and then there's this really, I mean, she's running along and there she's on fire. I mean, okay, it was very clearly a Caucasian stunt woman, but it was actually a really good fire gag.
Yeah. It was
and when it cuts to the woman about to fall into the pit, it's now someone who is
vaguely Asian-ish, yeah.
Asian-ish.
So yeah,
no longer white.
So they fall. So she falls into this pit, and the two captive Americans grab her and just pull her down and just eat the fuck out of her. Just
They start gnawing.
yeah, and they eat really fast though too, because she wasn't there by the time Saxon came up and said, "Hey, we're saving you." Oh crap, you're cannibals.
Yeah. At which point, Tommy
The black dude.
says, "Oh, more on second course," and Saxon gets his arm bitten.
Yeah, so Charlie, the other teammate who's been captured, has just been let out of psychiatric care after being there for several years. But he's having episodes, wants to talk to, his captain.
Yeah, he calls up his mate and says, like, "Hey, come out with coffee with me," because they kind of almost let him go, but not quite. It seems going to work release thing. I don't know.
Yeah, and he's desperate. I mean, he's obviously hurting, and the captain won't see him, so he kind of goes stumbling about the downtown.
The captain said, the captain says, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll come out. How about a beer?" And then he no-shows.
Yeah.
Well, he's kind of relapsing because he's got the neighbor girl who comes over and like, "Oh, hi, I need to borrow your hair dryer. Oh, I've got this cramp. Please massage my vagina." And so he gets all distracted by getting a little bit of pootie on the side, and Bukowski is like, "Oh, I gotta go," and off he goes.
And the thing that sets the captain off is that Bukowski says, thanks for rescuing me in Nam. Now, if he hadn't said that, the captain would have gone and seen him because he was ready. He was set and ready to go, mainly to get away from this neighbor, But the moment his, Charlie said, "Thanks for saving me," that brought back everything that he just, tried to get.
He basically relapses.
He relapses after, his wife goes off to work at the TV station where she's a reporter, covers several things. And so that puts her in kind of a position to hear about whatever else is going on in the news or news that's about to flash. So she kind of hears about Charlie and whatnot and his rampage that soon follows.
Yeah, because after he gets off the phone, he goes to the movie theater. He kind of has this run-in with this biker gang, and goes to this movie theater, and then completely just relapses.
And it's a war movie.
So he relapses and just like bites the hell out of this girl that's in the row in front of him,
making out with her boyfriend.
Right, they were like
they
third
were
base
going
making
down.
out. They were.
This is like a porn movie in the front row.
Yeah, and jump to we're doing a horror film. Let's have the nudity here.
Yeah, it's like, dude, take it to the back row. That's where that shit's supposed to go down.
Yeah.
So he bites the girl, and then everybody's like, "Get that guy!" And he gets up and runs out into the next door, which is like this flea market thing, and like the biker gang that still kind of hang out in the front, they're like, "Get that guy!" And they all come rushing in, and it's actually a really well staged action bit. I mean, there's he's crashing through things, and the bikers running around, and there's gunshots, and it was really well done.
And he shoots and kills a security guard. It's this really good, well staged bit.
The thing that's awkward with this bit is somebody wasn't paying attention to the fact that you have a motorcycle tearing through the building,
For
smashing
minutes.
things.
You hear things getting smashed, glass breaking, and the security guard is oblivious to all of this until Charlie gets a hold of the shotgun at the gun store and shoots the biker.
It's Italy in the 70s. Nobody gave a fuck.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it was Italy as far as the production of the film goes, but it's actually shot on location
in Atlanta.
Technically Atlanta.
in Atlanta.
So then John Saxon shows up after hearing about this, and it's like, and goes in to talk Bukowski down, and it's this really kind of tense scene, and he's like, "Dude, just chill. We'll go take care of this," and manages to dissolve the incident without violence, all the way up until Bukowski starts eating like the cops.
Yeah. Now, this is what impressed me, because I thought he was going to get shot. I thought this was going to be a case of guy nuts out, then gets shot by the cops and killed. But no, he actually talked him down and managed to get him back to the psych ward.
And strangely enough, if they had gunned him down right there, the movie would have been pretty much over.
Yeah.
Except for Saxon had bit the neighbor girl. So. So basically, at this point in the movie, it just turns into the cops playing cat and mouse with the, okay, we've got to go stamp out, this bit of infected, and so the rest of the movie is them running around trying to stop the apocalypse while the zombies-ish, the infected are running around.
Yeah, infected flesh.
Yeah. So I would say the movie is actually significantly less a cannibal movie and a lot more like David Cronenberg's like Rabid. Yeah, it's a lot like Rabid.
I find it difficult to actually qualify the film as a horror film.
No, it's more of an action movie that has horror elements.
Or I want to say it's in the line with like some of the movies that came out in the early 2000s, that Michael Crichton movie, or was that the late 90s?
Yeah.
There were a lot of movies about viruses.
It was like Virus or The Infected or something like that.
Yeah. Outbreak.
Outbreak. That's it.
But this has a more limited scope to it in that it's extremely personal. It's bloodborne.
It's a character-driven movie.
Yeah.
The gore is there because cannibalism, but it's not a plot device.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the cannibalism was really kind of an afterthought. The movie started out life as Apocalypse and Domini, something. Basically, the Italian word for tomorrow. So they were doing it as a play on Apocalypse Now, except Apocalypse Tomorrow, which is how they got John Saxon into it. He got the script, and it was kind of a poorly translated script, and he didn't have the title that it wound up with. So he signed on, and then turned out to be like, oh, I'm in a cannibal movie. So he kind of really didn't want to be there. That said, he absolutely crushed this. I mean, he's a lot like Christopher Lee, where it's, even if the material is substandard, which the material isn't substandard, by the way, if he really elevates it to the next level. He was really good in this.
Yeah, I gotta say, the acting, from one end of this thing to the other, even some of the minor roles, like the kids, the brother and sister who live next door.
Oh, yeah, just creepy as hell. Oh,
and they're so realistically drawn. I mean, it's not like they're, like their acting is stilted or anything. I mean, this kid's run down the stairs, jumps the last 4 or 5 to get to the door. Is just very kind of laid back, but there's something about him that's just a little off later on, but not right away. I mean, there's clearly that he's just a regular kid. I mean, when you've got, John here, playing with his RC plane. He has a biplane he's playing with, and he's teaching this kid how to do it. And they're just standing there, and it's just very normal. And it's just wow. I mean, they take their time to set this stuff up, so you get these people, and they don't rush it. That's what I liked about it. I got to go along with this and watch it develop in a reasonable manner.
And I got to give props to Butowski. I mean, he just absolutely, if Saxon crushed it, this guy crushed it too. I mean, those creepy dead eyes as he's, at the mall and confronting the bikers. I mean, just that kind of, that deer hunter sort of cock to his head. And I mean, just, he was well done.
If you look at a number of the Italian horror films, talent is frequently below par.
Yeah.
This is an instance where it's above par. And while a majority of the cast are in fact Americans, it's like every fourth character is played by an Italian actor. And Charlie Bukowski is an Italian actor, and he is very good in the role.
Yeah.
And there are times when some of the acting seems a little, some of the voice acting seems like it comes from somebody who the voice doesn't sound like it fits the way the character looks, in my mind. Like the voice might be a little young sounding for an older person, or it might be a little too urgent. But for the scene where this person's not being as excitable as they might be. But that said, I do enjoy the soundtrack. They overlaid the music soundtrack. And some of the special effects soundtrack I really like.
It's a little weird, though, because it's this funky disco beat thing. Yeah. It's a little weird to see John Saxon in the jungle gunning down Charlie, not Bukowski, but Charlie as in the Viet Cong, gunning, and there's this funky...
Yeah, but that's what you expect from that period. I mean, they loved that stuff back in those days. I mean, they almost used nothing but in a lot of their action and horror movies. I mean, the music was serviceable as everywhere. You know, it had a good beat. You know, and you had groups like Goblin that had influenced a lot of musicians there. And there was some bits of music near the end that reminded me a lot of Dawn of the Dead in places, especially some of the area where they were dealing with the zombies in the mall. You know, when the bikers were going through there, and some of that music sounded exactly like that, like it would fit right in there.
So after the mall, Charlie's talked down. He's taken back to the insane asylum where we're introduced to his cellmate from Vietnam,
Right.
Tommy. And he has a brilliant bit of dialogue when the captain, or when Saxon's character shows up to check up on them. What does he say?
Remember these choppers?
Remember these choppers?
Oh god!
And he just mouth of teeth, just like ah.
Oh, I love Tommy. I mean, he is just so chewing the scenery. He's like, motherfucker, and just so over the top and delicious. He's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, this is
I
kind of
love him.
like the A-Team, but as like, you know, flesh-eating badasses that just, you know, don't give a shit about anything but just getting that meat. Speaking of that, there's a really good bit in a gas station. You know, after they've killed the gas station attendant, they find his 38 that he keeps, you know, for protection. And while they're waiting around, you know, what is it? Charlie takes a one of those. What is that?
Oh yeah, the hand
disc
saws.
grinder.
Yeah, the
Disc grinder.
Yeah.
And proceeds to start grinding off this guy's leg, and you know, and just shearing away some of the meat there, and you're just going like, oh yeah,
Ew.
they're getting theirs, man. They're getting some road food to go,
God,
man.
yeah.
And
Bone
it's
in.
funny is Helen, one of the care nurses that's at the mental
psychiatric
ward or whatever it was, who has been bit by Tommy, and as of now is all with them. Tommy and Charlie and the captain, Saxon, they're in their element because they've been through war, combat, and Vietnam. Her element is more modern, clinical. She's been in a hospital. It's sterile. It's clean. And now she's in a sewer.
Right.
And that, like, ooh, I mean, that's where her mind went. Even though she's like, I'm looking for my next meal with you guys. Let's find it. And it's too much for her.
Yeah, and she's still her. I mean, let's be clear about this. Just because they're flesh eaters doesn't mean they're like, you know, The Walking Dead, where you're no longer who you used to be. These people are still clearly them. They still have a moral standard to some
They just have a
degree.
compulsion to eat
Yeah,
flesh.
so like Martin, who was driven to drink blood, but wasn't a typical vampire,
Yeah.
and he didn't even consider himself one. He knew he was crazy. You know, these people haven't shifted into another mode. They just are now compelled to eat flesh.
And that's the interesting thing, that the way the movie opens with them going into the jungle, and they're doing basically a rescue mission. So they're the good guys. And then the end of the movie, they're being hunted. The roles have been reversed. They've been bad guys, and so it's this interesting dichotomy at the bookends at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's a complete just juxtaposition, because at the beginning of the movie, the captain goes in with his A-Team squad, and they go into an open-ended cave, and they have to squat. They have to duck down. It's kind of like being in a tunnel. These guys are being kept in a kind of a reverse punji pit, where they've been, you know, starved and are living on, you know, down in this hole with bamboo. And so the captain's crouching, he's chasing Viet Cong and firing on him, and then there's a guy with a flamethrower, and there's machine gun fire and all that stuff. Then you completely reverse it. Once again, they're in tunnels, but this time, of course, they're
being chased by gangs with flamethrowers.
With flamethrowers and guns. And so it's going from one crouching extreme to the next. You know, you've got the sounds of the jungle on the soundtrack in the opening where they're in Vietnam, and then some of the same sounds, howler monkeys or whatever, and some other sounds in this sewer to give it that kind of
it was very
atmosphere.
disjointed, very kind of out of reality.
Yeah.
They were obviously going around the bend.
Yeah, and they're channeling their former experience now that they've been put in a similar situation. And so I found that to be very effective. You know, I mean, it was brilliantly staged, you know, And I think you were going to mention Helen was watching Charlie taking off this meat, and she's just got this look on her mouth like, ugh.
Give me some of that.
I want some of that.
Hunger.
I mean, and she doesn't go for it. It's just building and building, and she's getting more. Her eyes getting bigger, and she leans in a little bit, and her face is kind of flushed, and you know she wants it. And it's so subtle, but so brilliant. It's a slow burn, but she sent it home.
If there's you think that the message of the movie is how war changes you, how war is hell, and you can take that away from the movie, but I think actually the message the movie is saying is more that it's about repression. So Saxon, he is trying desperately to forget his time in the shit.
He's on prescription.
He's on prescription. He's gone to the doctor. He is desperate to bury his past. His wife is having an illicit affair, kinda, sorta. Well,
it's alluded to, but it's not confirmed.
Right. So, but the doctor, the one that he's having an affair with, the doctor desperately wants his wife.
Well, he pointedly says, "You should have married me."
Yeah. The nurse she is having a straight out affair with the doctor, so it's kind of this illicit taboo that she's not supposed to have.
Another doctor.
A different doctor. And then Charlie is just all oppressed all the time. So they have all these urges that they're bringing down super deep, and then they explode out into cannibalism. So I think that's the message the movie is trying to go for.
Yeah, and I think it should be stated that a lot of the stuff that goes on in this movie, is based under the assumption that some people might not be beyond redemption, but they've really got to fight real hard to keep what they've got.
Yes.
And they may lose it anyway because they're fighting so hard to keep what they have, but then they go to the other extreme where they overcompensate. And then shit just falls apart because they're trying too hard, where they should have just, dialed it back, thought a little more. I mean, near the end, the captain goes into a closet in their bedroom and puts on his military uniform, and you know what that means in a movie when you're near the end. I mean, that always means something bad. Usually the long walk. Mm-hmm. He's got his 45. He's got on his uniform, and he's telling his wife, get away from me. You don't want to. This is the bad shit. You don't want to be here when stuff goes down. But she refuses to leave, and they have this solemn, lovers pact basically.
Yeah. He's been wounded. There's a shootout in the sewer, and he gets shot. And in that shootout in the sewer, to back up a little bit, because this film did get banned because of the gore content. Mm-hmm. This is where you really see some of the gore. The moments before they end up in the sewer, Charlie stuffs his thumbs into the guy's eyes.
Poor guy's eye. And then he gets blown away in the sewer so he's got this round hole.
This huge hole.
Big enough a bowling ball can fit through it.
Although I think the movie got snapped up by the BBFC because it was the title. I think it was just once Cannibal Holocaust dropped, everything with cannibal in the title got nabbed. Yeah.
In regards to the title, I cannibal, not a problem. The word apocalypse, and it's supposed to be a play on Apocalypse Now, but in this instance, there's really nothing apocalyptic about the film.
No, I think if it had a bigger budget, they could have gone with a bigger scope and more apocalypse, and it kind of implies it at the end. Yeah. But it's really a limited.
Yeah.
Does it deserve to be on the Video Nasty list?
Really, realistically, no. But looking at the sensibilities of the time, there are a couple of moments in this film that definitely would say, "Oh, that's on it." The one officer who was bit by Charlie while they're loading him into the ambulance noshes on one of his fellow officers, a woman, and it's very evident that he's
biting her
boob,
bust,
ate her tits off. Mm-hmm. And then the flamethrower sequence in the sewer, live rats this is a movie where they cannot claim no animals were harmed.
It's an Italian movie.
One of the rats,
it's an Italian movie.
One of the rats got flamed and jumped into the sewer water.
Yeah.
It was by accident, though. It wasn't necessarily a intended, Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah. Or like Men Behind the Sun. Or
right.
Like that.
Yeah.
So, does this movie deserve to be on the banned list?
No,
think?
this is something that in the 80s I would have watched on Night Flight at midnight.
It very easily probably was on Night Flight.
They might have trimmed a few minutes out here and there,
and there's cussing, and they might have toned down the sexual suggestiveness of that this teenage girl coming on to a middle-aged man.
Yeah.
And him touching her, and whatnot. So that would just be for morality purposes, not for gore purposes. And I know there was a morality thing behind the whole video nasty thing, but I wouldn't call this a nasty. I would just call this today it would be like a PG-13 because of how it looks, and because you can get way worse on YouTube and on TV than this. You know, we're hyper desensitized to everything, so I wouldn't call this a nasty in that sense.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily. I would probably go R. I wouldn't necessarily ban it.
Yeah, easily. Yeah. So and I mean the intent is clear. This is clearly a portrait of people who are psychologically, oppressed or repressed, and some of them have been tortured and starved and whatnot. If you took all the gore and everything out of it, it would be one of those kind of movies about institutionalization. The effects of psychological PTSD, the horrors of wartime. Yeah. These people are clearly sick, need help. They've been getting help, but then something happens and they snap. Yeah. And it's a brilliant study, I think.
Yeah. Did you like the movie?
I loved it. I was compelled to want to watch it again, actually, right off the bat. If there was a commentary, I would have listened to it, but I wanted to watch it again just because there was so much stuff in it that I liked, and music and characterizations, all that stuff. Lighting, especially in the asylum, where Helen's walking down the hallway and there's purple light in the background and green fluorescence and stuff, just gave this really great atmosphere to stuff. And the street lights, I mean, this thing was well lit in many areas to give, the depth to the downtown Atlanta streets and everything.
It's a movie it's a movie that, no, personally myself, back at the time frame that this movie came out, no, I probably would not have gone to see it because I had issues with horror films back in the day. But now this is a movie I would happily watch again. It's well directed, well acted, well edited. Pacing is great. The soundtrack is not off kilter. It's not bad. It's just at times you go, Disco in the Jungle. It's a good movie. I would happily watch this again.
I dug it. I love the hell out of it. The only crime that the movie is committing is that it's not out on Blu-ray. It's only out on DVD, and you can't get it for love nor money. It's like $100 for the damn thing. Fortunately, Scarecrow hooked me up. Yeah. All right.
That's a
thumbs up all around. All right, thumbs up all around. Go watch this fucker because it's awesome.
Yes.
We're done. And that's Cannibal Apocalypse. Thank you for joining us here on another episode of the Video Nasty Project. Be sure to check back in next time when we grab another video off the shelf. I don't know what we'll watch, but it's going to be glorious. Or terrible. Or glorious terrible. Anyway, bye-bye.
Right.